Okay, guys, I wanted to take a second before you begin today's lesson to do a quick review of what you guys had to do for me yesterday. A couple of things. There were a few, actually, looking at it, there were about a third of the responses that I got were what I would consider exemplary. You followed the directions in the question, you used all of your vocabulary, and you were able to actually explain what we were doing. There were about another third that I would say were super stinking close. We're going to look at a few of those. And then I had about a third of the responses that either didn't answer the question at all, were not even a full sentence, didn't use any of the vocabulary. And unfortunately, those people are going to have to redo this assignment today. So let's take a second. Let's read the question together. And then I'm going to give you an example of an exemplary response and a couple examples of responses that were almost perfect. They just needed a little bit of tweaking. So the first thing we see is that it says, in your own words, explain the concept of a coordinate plane and how you would plot the point 4, 2 on a coordinate plane. Be sure to use the word bank below to help with your response. So I see that this is two separate questions. One that says, explain the concept of a coordinate plane and how you would plot the point 4, 2 on a coordinate plane. So really there's two things that I'm doing here, okay? To make it easier, I am going to highlight these in different colors so that you can see them. Now, it also gives you an entire word bank here that you need to be able to use, okay? So let's look at the exemplary one. Shout out to Emma Trey. She is our exemplary example for today. So the first thing she does is she explains the concept of a coordinate plane. She says, on a coordinate plane, there is an x-axis and a y-axis. She's essentially telling me what that is. She's explaining to me how it's oriented. There is room for improvement here, but she does explain the concept of a coordinate plane. It is something where there's an x-axis and a y-axis. She then says, if you were trying to plot the point 4, 2 on a coordinate plane, she even does the correct parentheses and commas and everything. The x-axis is always plotted first. She's giving me step by step to the right side of the origin. Now, this is one of those words that was throwing a lot of people off. The word origin is referring to the point 0, 0. It is the very middle of a coordinate plane. So she says the x-axis will be to, in this case, to the right of the origin. You would move to the 4 on the plane, meaning she's going to move, if this is the origin, she's going to move 4 spaces over. And for the y-coordinate, move 2 spaces from the 4 on the first quadrant, moving upward. After the point, circle or dot is placed, you have plotted point 4, 2 on a coordinate plane. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Now let's look at a couple. Proficient examples. So these over here were almost perfect. They were just missing something small. This one right here says, in order to plot 4, 2 on a coordinate plane, you will have to go to the first quadrant and the right side, and you will go to 4 on the y-axis and 2 on the x-axis. This is the only little error here. This, where he says, or he or she says y-axis, should have been x-axis. The first number in the coordinate plane or in the coordinate pair is always the x-axis. It's the horizontal one. Then he says, or she says, it would be the 2 on the x-axis, which obviously if the 4 is the x-axis, then the other is the y-axis. Looking here though, they didn't explain the concept of a coordinate plane, so that would need to be on there as well. The next one says the concept of a coordinate plane, and I would plot the point 4, 2 is I would first put my point in the x-axis in 4, good job, x-axis is 4, and move up 2 lines, perfect. But this is where we get a little confused, and that would be the origin. Where we're plotting our point is not the origin. The origin, like we said before, is right here. The origin is at the very center of our coordinate plane. So really, if I were going to do this, I would delete this part out, okay? I would add something like, I would plot my point where my lines meet, and that is point 4, 2. Okay, and the last one says, on a coordinate plane, you can place the number 4, 2. You can do this by first looking at the y-axis. To place the 4 on the y-axis, you simply move 4 spaces down. So here we've got confusion with the x and y-axis again. So this one should say x-axis. To place the 4 on the x-axis, you simply move 4 spaces, and this should say to the right. Now you have to place the 2 on the y-axis. You can do this by moving 2 places up, 1 on the vertical line. That's perfect. So we've got the correct direction here. Now you should have placed the 4 and the 2 where they should be. The last step is to move your fingers where you place the 4 and the 2 until they meet, and that's how you place 4, 2 on a coordinate plane. So we have kind of the same error with the first example and the third example here, where we just have some confusion about x and y. X comes before y in the alphabet. So when we look at a coordinate like 4, 2, the 4 is the x, the 2 is the y. X is horizontal, y is vertical. If today as you're working, when you go to look at your independent practice, I'm going to put you into groups that's going to kind of change what I would like you to do. Some people are going to have to go back and recomplete this assignment because it wasn't done correctly. And it looks like most of us that didn't do it correctly did it incorrectly, not because we didn't know what to do, but because we weren't really putting forth a lot of effort. There will be different groups just like we do for centers during the day. So make sure you pay attention to the group that you're in the independent practice, and you guys should be good to go. Good luck today, guys.